Welcome to Icons with Lorna, a global series that explores today's most significant concerns and issues with the help of the world's greatest female thinkers and influential women of our time. I am Lorna Mae Johnson, an Olympic qualifying athlete, an accomplished businesswoman, philanthropist, and Queen Mother of Ghana. I've had the pleasure of serving two U.S. presidents, President Barack Obama and President Joe Biden, where I now serve on the President's Advisory Committee on the Arts at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Icons with Lorna will celebrate women's achievement and how they have supported each other at the highest level. Today, we'll be talking to a very dear friend of mine, a woman who has broken many barriers and created a lane not just for herself, but for other women to follow. A woman who defied all odds as a wife and mother of 5 to become the first and only female speaker in the 234-year existence of the United States House of Representatives. Her history-making role left her only 2 heartbeats away from the presidency. She served under 7 presidents of the United States. She's also a proud grandmother of 9. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, former Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. Well, Madam Speaker Emerita, welcome to Icons with Lorna. So great to see you.
There we go.
You look fantastic. You look fantastic. You know, and many people are saying, I think you're still on the top of your game, but many people think you have retired. So let's get the record clear. You are not retired. You basically just step aside from the leadership caucus role.
I guess I would say, what does emerita mean? It means somebody else is doing that job, but it doesn't mean I've given up my work, no.
Great. Well, we're glad that you're still there, and we're excited about the fact that you can still continue to guide the ship.
Well, let me say this. When one of the measures of my success, and for 20 years I was speaker or leader, 20 years. That meant every day meeting certain legislative goals, political goals, fundraising goals, and the rest. So I'm relieved not to have those responsibilities, but we have big issues at hand now. We have artificial intelligence, we have cryptocurrency, we have the war, first and foremost, the war in Ukraine, we have debt limit, we have so many issues to deal with. I feel liberated to reflect and go forward with those.
That's awesome. Your presence is always needed and valued. So one of the things I want to talk about with you, or to share with the world, is that many people see you as, you know, they know you for your many years of service in public life, but they don't know your history and your early exposure to politics and community service. Your father was a 5-time congressman and later on became mayor of Baltimore. And your brother Thomas also was mayor of Baltimore. So then how do these things, growing up in that environment, guide you, your aspirations to develop into who you have become in terms of politics right now?
Well, my family was a political family. My father voted for himself when he was first eligible to vote for the state legislature, then the city council, then Congress, then mayor, and my brother mayor. I never had any political aspirations whatsoever. We were, though, in our family taught to care for other people. We were, again, staunchly Catholic, so proud of our Italian-American heritage, fiercely patriotic, and staunchly democratic. So that just said we had responsibilities to other people as our faith taught us and demanded, and as politics enabled us to do. It wasn't until much later in life that politics came into my life for me, not for my family.
Right. We understand that when you were a little girl, though, you held the Bible for your dad when he was swearing into the 5th Congress in 1947. What memory, beautiful memory, do you have of that day and that place?
Well, when I was actually swearing in my father as mayor of Baltimore.
Oh, it was mayor of Baltimore. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Before that, I went with my father to Congress when he was sworn into Congress, and I went with him on the floor.
Okay.
And I never suspected that one day I'd be the Speaker of the House.
Right.
But that was memorable to me. And then when I swore him in with the Bible as mayor of Baltimore, that was pretty exciting.
Oh, great, great, good.
It was my first speech.
Right. And what did you say to him? I understand you said something to him. What was your speech to him?
My speech was to the effect of, "Dear Daddy, I hope that this Bible will guide you to be a good mayor." Well, my mother always thought nuns had the perfect life. They could have their faith because she was very religious. And that wasn't going to be none of it. But nonetheless, she was a very religious person. Faith meant a great deal to her, and she was thrilled when I had these babies. So.
Right, so you married Paul, and you had five kids in 6 years. And so you were a devoted wife and mother. That was not on a path to becoming political or becoming a public servant. So what it is that ignited that passion in you that led you to become a public servant and now one of the most powerful women in the world?
Well, my why, I keep saying to people, if you're involved in the political arena, know your why. Why are you? My why was we had these 5 children, and the fact that 1 in 5 children in America lived in poverty and would go to sleep hungry at night was just intolerable to me. So I volunteered in politics, but I never was going to be the one in front. I was very shy at that time. And so it was one thing led to another, but it was not ever in my aspirations or anything to run for public office, no.
20 years later, after you got into Congress, you said you've always been, managing and, in Congress for over 20 years. You made history by becoming the first female Speaker of the House of Representatives. What was that like? What kind of emotion did you experience when you realized you were going to be making history being the first Speaker?
I didn't even think of it that way. When I first, when the caucus elects who they're going to bring to the floor to be Speaker, our chairman, Rahm Emanuel, was the chair of the caucus. And when the caucus elected me, I went up to the podium and he said to me, he said, "Your parents would be so proud." And I thought, no, why would this make any difference to my parents? They didn't raise me to be Speaker. They didn't even know I'd run for office. Why would you say that? They raised us all to be holy, not to be Speaker. And so that's what I thought then. My view diminished me by labeling me as the woman who is Speaker of the House, because it's such a long time in coming, over 200 years. And the first meeting that I ever went to as leader, not even Speaker, as leader, was with President Bush. I went to the White House for our first meeting with the leadership as leader. And at that meeting, I wasn't apprehensive about it because I'd been to the White House so many times as an Intelligence Committee person, as an appropriator and the rest. But when I went into the room, I realized this was unlike any meeting I had been to before, or unlike any meeting that any woman had been to before in the White House, because it was small. The president, the leaders, House and Senate, Democrats and Republicans, and while women have been at the table, they've been there at the appointment of the president. I was there as a representative of the House Democrats, my own, shall we say, authority. In the cabinet room, there's one vote that counts, right? In this room, it was a different thing.
We often see the blend of power, style, and femininity. How do you deal with this experience of bigotry and hate? How does it constrain you or fuel you?
No, I don't care about it. I mean, I didn't come to Congress to change people's behavior as to how shall we say, negative they might be about a woman in power. I came there to do my job, and I figured their bigotry is their problem, not mine, not mine.
So that's how you were able to deal with all of this, because it's theirs.
Well, the only thing that bothered me about it is I didn't want it to deter other women from being involved in politics. That was the only thing. I didn't care what they said about me. I didn't care about them. But I did care about younger women who have families, and I'm trying to encourage them to run for office, and I say, I could never subject my family to what you have been subjected to. I said, well, because I'm effective. You know, I can pass laws, I can raise money, I can win elections. If I were not effective, they wouldn't be paying attention to me. See, women have a reputation for being more ethical, so what they do is they try to go after a woman's ethical reputation, make up stuff. Mm-hmm. And so that's not a healthy thing for a family. And children feel hurt by it and the rest. So that's the only thing of their bigotry and their negativity that bothered me, is how it would have an impact on women that I wanted to be running for.
What were the emotions when you confirmed that Trump had won the election?
Well, obviously, the whole world was centered on Jarvis Center in New York, where Hillary was going to be celebrating the election of the first woman. Right. Not only the first woman, the most talented, more talented than her husband when he was elected, absolutely, than Barack Obama when he was elected, mm-hmm, than George Bush when he was elected. Mm-hmm. She really had the experience, the knowledge, the judgment, and the values to be a great president. It wasn't just that she was a woman. Absolutely. She happened to be a woman, but she was magnificent, qualified, and any of these three people would admit she had more experience than they did. Obama did, and her husband did. I don't know about Bush, but we know that she did in that, mm-hmm, case. So we were in D.C. at our where we were watching the returns for the House races that night. Mm-hmm. When the night went on, I was in touch with our members in states like Pennsylvania that were important. One of our members, Bob Brady, he was the chair of the Philadelphia Democratic Party. So he knew exactly what had to happen in Philadelphia for her to win Pennsylvania. They did what they had to do. They had a vast majority in Philadelphia. In the course of the evening, he would say, it's tightening, but we're good, we're good, we're good, we're good. Oh, no. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. Some of these counties, which usually didn't turn in big votes, were coming in big. And he was saying, I don't know if we can hold it. And when he started saying that late at night, after midnight, in the East, then it was clear to some that Hillary was not going to be president. And not only was she not going to be president, but he would be president, which was a taint on our country of the highest magnitude. It felt like a mule had come in and started kicking us in the back over and over again. I can't quite describe it. It was physical as well as emotional, as well as intellectual, that this great woman was not going to be president, and that this disgrace was going to be. It was a horrible thing. It was. We stayed there late that night, and then the morning for the concession speech, we had to go. We were in New York at the hotel, and kids were just crying. Young people, the young generation, there was just so much pain that was being felt in the rooms. It was just unbelievable. Now we have the Vice President, Kamala Harris. How do you think we're doing? Do you think we're making adequate progress, or do you think we still have a long, long way to go? I'm always dissatisfied, but optimistic. Kamala, how proud we are. Of course, as Californians, as San Franciscans, we're very proud of her. The president knows full well what the job is of vice president and the job is of president. And in recognition of that, he decided that Kamala Harris would be the best person for the job, knowing the jobs that she might have to fulfill. So I feel very comfortable with that.
Well, thank you. Do you think that it's the fear of a woman now coming into play as becoming a president is the elephant in the room versus his real age, because he's doing a good job? Do you think the preparation that probably they think is going on in preparing a woman for the next position is the problem?
No, I think it's age. I think it's age. I can say that because for a long time, they were saying, when are you going to retire? And I think, when are you going to go ask Mitch McConnell that? He's older than I am. I mean, he's 1 year younger than I am, but he's older than
Biden.
Biden. And nobody ever asked him. He fell down, hurt his head. Nobody ever said, is he going to retire? Nobody. They just are selective about this when it serves their purpose. But I do think for President, now, this president is great. He knows his why. He knows his subjects. He knows how to get things done.
Exactly.
He's a strategic thinker. He has empathy in his heart. He's great. And he's going to be reelected. And, well, the age is not a positive thing. Well, you know, but on the other hand, it will not be a deterrent to his reelection. And by the way, if what's his name is the Republican nominee, he's not that much younger. He's not that much younger. I think that the age issue would still be an issue with President Biden, no matter who he had as vice president. I don't think it's anti-women. I don't think so, not at this point. I think that they should welcome the fact that it would be a woman.
I am truly heartbroken to see where we are and the erosion of women's reproductive freedom. How can we stop this bleed? And what do you think is going to happen to the next generation of daughters?
Well, we have to stop this. I mean, this is completely ridiculous that this court... Now, just put this in perspective. The beginning of our country, our founders had a beautiful vision about a country founded on the dignity and worth of each person. However, our founding document, the Constitution, did not reflect that. Thank God that they would amend the Constitution. So over time, the abolition of slavery, the black men having the right to vote, then women having the right to vote, then marriage protection, all those things, marriage equality, expanding freedom over time. We always expanded freedom until the decision about Roe v. Wade. That was the first time that the court said the right of privacy in the Constitution and the precedent of this body, the Supreme Court, which said that Roe v. Wade was constitutional, went backward. Went backward.
Absolutely. It's
from
amazing.
The beginning of our expanding freedom. And now we're going backward. So we have to get that back. And the only way we can do it is to win the election. We've passed it in the House again and again, Judy Chu's legislation, to enshrine Roe v. Wade into the Constitution, into the law of the land, and we will do that.
Absolutely, and I think hopefully the next generation, they are rising up like we've never seen them.
Never before.
Never
Look,
before.
I'm a devout practicing Catholic. I respect people's views, and I hope they would respect ours.
You spoke so eloquently about what the Capitol meant to you back in the day. From your father's time. And with all this stuff that's going on now in January, what happened on January 6th, what's lasting impression has it left on you, and to what extent has it changed you, if any?
January 6th was an assault on everything we hold dear. A building, yes, the temple of democracy to the world, a symbol.
Absolutely.
Our Constitution, that was the day that the Constitution required the Congress to accept the results of the Electoral College and the vote of the people. The Congress of the United States, an assault on the Congress physically. They were coming to hurt people. So it was, and they were doing it with an incitement caused by the President of the United States, who incited an insurrection. Unthinkable. But what was even more unthinkable was that after all was said and done, and in a bipartisan way, we said, we're going back. We're showing the world that we're going back to the Capitol, and we're opening this up tomorrow. Tonight would be in the middle of the night. To have the Republicans overwhelmingly vote not to accept the results of the Electoral College in the House of Representatives is just sad. It's unpatriotic. Is really what it is. And so now they have this, they were going to hang this vice president and shoot me in the head, but that, we had our protection. I wasn't worried about us. What I was worried about is the other members who were subjected to the violence. And the staff, many of them young and idealistic, the maintenance people who keep the place running and nice, being subjected to terrible language and actions. It was a disgrace. As people, thank goodness, some of them are paying a price. Some of them are blaming it on Trump.
Well, the benevolence you displayed on that day was beyond words. And you, with all of that, caring for everybody around you, you still also had your eyes on making sure that that you would finish the election certification that night. Was there any doubt in your mind that you were not going to have it done that night?
That would have been a victory for them. Well, first of all, we had our own responsibility, forgetting about them. We had our own responsibility. And it's hard to lose an election. Now what we have to do is fight efforts around the country to say that the Electoral College doesn't count. The state legislature can decide who won, but having nothing to do with the vote of the people. And the Supreme Court has a case before it right now. If that case comes down in favor of the legislature deciding who won the election, regardless of the results, our democracy will be seriously diminished.
We talk a lot again about the young people, the next generation carrying on. What are your thoughts and how proud are you of these, the Tennessee 3 and the 2 young men that stood up with courage?
I have a picture of one of them here. He came to an event in Washington last week. I don't know where it is right this second, but it's on my phone. One of the Justins, and lovely. And he's going to be up for election in another month. Republicans are opposing him. But they were so courageous. But let's just put that in perspective. Young people that have always been a part of this democracy in a strong way. Young people in Selma in school said, we're going to not go to class until our teachers have the right to vote. If the teachers had walked out, Jim Crows would have criticized the teachers. The children walking out, they had to give this. Now they made obstacles there, but the young people started that, even encouraged the March on the Bridge. I was in Washington about a month ago, you'll be judged, right before the Easter Passover break. It was the Friday right before that break. And I went to something, I was proud to be invited to be, by the young people to me, it was called Generation Lockdown. This is a rally organized by high school and college students. They said, we've had it. We've had it. We want a ban on assault weapons, and we're going to work until we get that. Many of them were part of the march that took place after the Parkland Valentine's Day assault on kids in Florida.
What would be your advice for some of the immigrants to overcome some of these barriers without compromising their integrity?
It's really important to know their why, and also why it is important for them to do this. Our country, there's no better speech about immigration than the one made by Ronald Reagan. This is the last speech I will make as President of the United States, the last speech, and I want to communicate a message to a country I love. I won't do justice by going into the speech. People can Google it. He talks about the Statue of Liberty and the beacon of hope it is to the world. He talks about our country being preeminent in the world because our door is open to all this new coming energy and exhilaration and the rest. And if we close that door, we will no longer be preeminent in the world. And that means not just in terms of our society, our economy, but our politics as well. The representative is our job title and our job description. And we have to have a Congress that is representative, state legislatures that are representative. Governor's office, Senate, all of it has to be representative of the country. So I say to people, there's never been in the history of the world anybody like you. Never in the history of the world, for the thousands of years that we have existed, nobody like you. So take inventory of what you bring. When your family is a newcomer to America, think of the courage, the optimism, the hope to build a future better for the next generation of the family. Those are American traits. So those newcomers to America make America more American. But then you have to make some sacrifices to get into the arena. And the arena is it's a tough place. It's not for the faint of heart. But know how necessary it is for you to do that. Whether you're a minority, a newcomer, a woman, whatever it is, that diversity is necessary. And that's what I tried to do when I was speakers and leaders, to make sure that we had the benefit of all of that flow and encourage those people to run for office. And to see in our society, well, here in California, newcomers have been so much a part of our success, whether you're talking Silicon Valley, you're talking our ag community, which is leading industry in our state and the biggest agricultural state in the union and the source of our exports, right. So for the economy of our country.
Well, we're going to just jump right into one of your biggest, what I think one of the biggest accomplishments that we did, the ACA, and your passion and the drive in which you went after that. I'm going to say a few words, and probably you can finish the sentence for me. We go through the gate. If the gate is closed,
we're not going to let anything stand in our way.
Right.
If there's a fence,
you go.
A wall, we'll go through the gate. The gate doesn't open, we'll climb the fence. If that doesn't work, we'll pole vault in. If that doesn't work, we'll parachute in. But we're not letting anything stand in the way of passing health care for all in our country.
And you did it. And you did it marvelously. As a matter of fact, many people think it should be called Nancy Pelosi Care versus Obamacare.
No.
Because you were the mastermind. I understand, you were the mastermind behind it. You got it done. And even when they tried to repeal it, you got them to, you prevented that from happening by going, even talking with one of the staunch believer of overturning the ACA, who was Senator John McCain. And you were able to communicate with Senator John McCain and got him to vote the right way.
He made his own decision.
Of course.
He saw what the Republicans were doing. You know, don't give me the credit. Give him the credit for seeing what the Republicans were doing. Now, when we passed the bill, people said, which one did you do? We said, we went through the gate, because we had not only our members, but we had the grassroots. We had all the diagnoses, cancer, this, that, and the other thing. Grassroots people with us to open that gate. And that outside mobilization was very important to our inside maneuvering and our success. So when they won the election, I hate to say it, in 2016, and they said they were going to repeal and replace, we again went to the grassroots. We had 10,000 meetings, 10,000 events around the country where people told their stories. They didn't talk about provisions of the bill. They told their stories. When my baby was born with a heart condition, all this, how much it would cost, lifetime limits, all of that. They told their stories, and that was really what was so compelling. What the Republicans were doing in Washington was irresponsible, and I think that John McCain saw that. So while I respect him enormously, have worked with him and his wife, who's now ambassador, and she's wonderful, he really made his own decision. Because I said, you have to know what they're doing. He said, I know what they're doing. I know what they're doing. Martin Luther King said, of all the inequalities, the inequality regarding health care is the most inhuman and shocking, because people can die. Because people can die, and that was an inspiration.
Former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, and my icon forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Icons with Lorna, a global series dedicated to profiling influential women in America and around the world. I am Lorna Mae Johnson. I look forward to seeing you soon on our next Icons with Lorna.